Hello, I'm Nick Park from Evangelical Alliance Ireland, and this is our weekly message. It's Friday, but Sunday's coming. At Evangelical Alliance Ireland, we're here for a lot of different purposes. Our mandate is, and the reason why we were set up in the first place, is to connect the people of God, to equip the people of God, and to represent the people of God. And so we're involved in many different projects. We're not just ever going to concentrate just on one thing. There's a lot of different projects that we got to be involved in. But one issue that we devoted quite a bit of time to last year was the whole issue of sexuality and gender. And that is something that we still are addressing on an ongoing basis. And we do receive a lot of inquiries from individuals and churches about that. And we are continuing with our series of seminars, the XXXY Files. In fact, tomorrow, Saturday, 17th of February, we're holding another XXXY seminar at 11 a.m. in the Chinese Gospel Church in Dublin. Now, why is this something that we keep coming back to? I mean, some people say, well, Christians are obsessed by sex. That's what it is? Well, not at all. We live in a society that is obsessed by sex. And so, therefore, when we take a biblical approach to sexuality and gender, that really does seem to be the one issue where we come into conflict so much with surrounding culture. And it could be said that for us as this generation of believers, it is the defining issue of our day on how the world views the church and how the church interacts with the world. And I do believe that this is an absolutely crucial issue that we have to get right as the church. Not because, as some people say, that there's this gay agenda that has the power to destroy the church. I don't believe that for one instance. I believe there are a lot of people who have different views on sexuality and gender than we do as Christians. Our views are biblical, based upon God's word. People who do not base their lives on God's word are going to have different views. And some of them can be very militant about that and very intolerant about it as well. But that never will have the power to destroy the church. You know, that kind of anger, that kind of hatred, that kind of opposition, that kind of difference from the world has never had the power to destroy the church, and it never will. It didn't back in the first century when the church, the defining issue then was the worship of one God. Was Jesus Lord, or was it okay to worship Jesus and worship the emperor and other gods as well? That was the defining issue then. And through later generations, Christians dealt with what were the defining issues in their day. Slavery, racial discrimination. You know, we've differed from the world on many things. So it's not that there's some force out there, some agenda out there that we have to fight against, otherwise they're going to destroy the church. They're not going to destroy the church. Jesus said, I will build my church and the gates of hell will not prevail against us. So just because we're in a minority in our views on this particular subject of sexuality and gender, that's never going to destroy the church. However, we have the power, not some other group of people. We have the power to misrepresent Jesus. And that is why I believe this issue is the defining issue in the church today. Because if the church does not get this right, if we misrepresent Jesus, then we are going to do a tremendous disservice to the gospel of Jesus Christ. And we would misrepresent Jesus if we did not stand for biblical standards of righteousness. If we just says, sure, it doesn't matter anyway. Do what you want, and God still loves you, and God will still take you to heaven. That's not the gospel. And we would be unfaithful to the gospel if we took that position. But equally, we misrepresent Jesus when we respond to those who differ from us with fear, or even, God forbid, with hatred. And sometimes, I have to say this, sometimes the Church of Jesus Christ in many parts of the world, and occasionally here in Ireland, sometimes the church has been tremendously bad at representing Jesus when it comes to talking about sexuality and gender and what the church believes and how that differs from what society round about us might believe. And so we as the church need to learn to speak well on these issues. Now, speaking well doesn't mean speaking dishonestly. It doesn't mean hiding what we believe. It doesn't mean pretending to be something we're not. It simply means being like Jesus. How would Jesus speak into this issue and this situation? And as I look at the life of Jesus and look at how he spoke into a lot of the stuff that was going on in his time when he walked on the earth, I believe Jesus would stand firm on what is right and what is wrong. I don't believe Jesus would compromise righteousness. I don't believe Jesus would say sin is righteousness when it's not. But neither do I believe that Jesus would act with hatred or fear towards those who did not live up to the biblical standards of righteousness or did not agree with Christ's standard of righteousness. And I look at Jesus, and he was still invited to all the best parties, and the tax collectors and various other kinds of people that varied from him in moral behavior and ethics and code. They still wanted to be around Jesus because Jesus was still very attractive to them in the way he spoke about all things, including sin and righteousness. And we of the Church of Jesus Christ, we've got a long way to go to be able to talk into the subject of sexuality and gender like Jesus would talk into it. Righteous and loving and gracious and true. I'm determined that as Evangelical Alliance Ireland, we are here, one of our tasks, not the task, not the only task, but one of the tasks we have before us, and one of the reasons why we're here, is to help the church to speak like Jesus into this situation. We're committed to doing that in the future. No, we're not obsessed with sex, but we live in a world that is obsessed with sex, and we need to represent Jesus well in this world, even when so many people might disagree with what we believe and when we're a minority in our culture. But we're going to be a minority that keeps representing Jesus. And sure, the church has been in a minority many times before, and we'll continue to represent Jesus in this area of life as in all others. May God bless you today, and I'd invite you to join us again next Friday for our weekly message. It might be Friday, but Sunday's coming.